Everyone's growing, changing, and evolving, even you. From the student nurse to the baby nurse, the veteran nurse off the bedside and into entrepreneurship, you have arrived and you have evolved. So, welcome to the Evolved Nurse podcast. I am your host, Keish, and this is another episode. I hope you enjoy it. So today we have a nurse who gives back to the nursing community by providing tips and education to help students become successful in nursing school and in nursing. She battled various obstacles, but she still navigated them successfully to help make change in the nursing field. She is the author of Everything They Don't Tell You About Nursing School. She also has a Getting Paid to Post ebook, the owner of Crushed & Co. Boutique, the creator and founder of Crushed Meds. Let's welcome Nurse Nika to the Evolved Nurse podcast.
Hey.
Hello, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, it's Nika, but I always go by Nika because and I actually be like, oh, I'm Nika. I'm gonna be a nurse. Because my patients, Trenika.
They act like they can't pronounce it.
All kinds of things. You already know.
Girl, I do not understand it. It's like you can put two words together. It should be an easy process.
Right? Yeah, it's not. It's not. But you know what? I just go on about my day, and I'm Nika. So I'm NikaxNoel across all my.
Okay. So I like to ask this question to all my nurses that come on. Did you originally want to be a nurse?
Girl, that is a good question. Like that's a good question for me because excuse my French, but the answer was like it was hell no. Hell, when I tell you hell no, and it's kind of sad to say because you're supposed to have well, I have compassion and all of that, but I never wanted to be a nurse. My mom has been a nurse. It must be over 30 something years. So I grew up with my mom being a registered nurse. She was a CNA, LPN, and then RN. And I'm like, first of all, I was like, I don't even want to work to begin with. I thought I was
Right.
like Princess Polly somewhere, not working. I didn't even want to think about adult life, like where I grew up or whatever. I'm very green, so
Mhm.
like, I'll be making 40 this year, but I still feel like I feel like I'm in my 20s. You hear me?
Look, I tell people all the time, age is nothing but a number. It's how you act. It's how you live your life. You do not have to be 40 and act like you 50.
I know, and it's like the way I was experiencing things, like I did not have a fast life. So like
Mhm.
started experiencing things like right after high school. So that was if I started experiencing things right after high school, that was so far fetched trying to even figure out what I wanted to do in my life. So
Mhm.
I knew that I had to go to college because I had already, I had like scholarships and one of my best friends, I attribute like all like me going to college and doing everything to one of my best friends because her parents pushed her so hard. So we were best friends, and the only time we got to hang out was when we were going to do something for school. So I signed up for everything before, and then I ended up going to college, not majoring in nursing. I
Mhm.
be a psychiatrist, but then when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, it's a doctor. I'm like, I'm not going to school that long. And then I changed it to like psychology. So I majored in psychology for the first year to two of my college life, 4
Girl,
year.
me too.
But girl, that took a
I
turn.
did too.
I was like, you know what? I want to do this. I want to see it. I want to help people. I want to talk to people. I'm like, this
Mhm.
is the easiest route, maybe. And then I was like, oh, and then I won't have to start working because I have to go back to school for 4 more years. Or no, for 2 more years for my master's. I'm like, yeah, I'll just sit around, hang around in school for a little bit. So no, did not want to be a nurse. Did not want to go into the working field. But I ended up getting pregnant for my first kid.
Mhm.
And that's when like life started, like life informing. Like that's when I was like, you know what? You can't just be sitting in school. Now, granted, the scholarships are scholarship and the grant.
Girl.
You understand? I was making work. I was broke. I never was broke. So I'm like, you know what? I have to do something. So I ended up leaving the 4 year college when I was pregnant for my oldest kid, which
Mhm.
she just turned 19
Oh,
this year.
wow.
And I ended up going to CNA school. and it was like a 6-week course. I was like, "Oh, well, I think I could work with, with this, at least make some money."
Mhm.
I did CNA, but then when I started working as a CNA, I was like, "Oh my god, I do not wanna do this
This is
for."
not for me.
I wanna do this for the long haul, work smarter, not harder. So I'm like, "Dang, well, what else can I do?" So, I ended up enrolling in, a LPN program, which was like all of this is in my area, like the Lafayette, Louisiana area.
Mhm.
So I enrolled like right after. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the whole part. I'm so sorry. I worked as a CNA for a little bit. I went back to like because it was only a 6-week course. I sat out one semester. I went back to the 4-year college and I started to pursue my registered nurse degree at the college I had just left. So I switched my major from psychology.
Mhm.
So I get to like the clinicals part. I think like my junior year of about to get to clinicals. Yeah, this is so trivial, but God like does things. So this is so trivial because it was like a $50 application fee.
And you
Now
ain't wanna pay it.
I want to pay it knowing that I might not get in. So
Mhm.
PA for like it was very competitive. You only needed a 2.5, no, 2.7 to get in to the nursing clinicals or
Mhm.
part. I guess it was like the nursing program, but you only needed a 2.7 GPA, and like the cutoff for the year or the semester before was like a 3.1. And I was sitting there at like 2.7, 2.8. So I'm like, you know what? I need my $50. I said, I am not about to pay $50 for application fee. I know I'm not gonna get in. I was like, let me just scramble. I'm just gonna get out and go to another school.
Mhm.
Left there, and I ended up enrolling in like a 16-month LPN course because I'm like, well, nursing. I'm like, my mama is, making money from that, and I need to make money, and CNA is not the way. So I'm like, let me just do LPN. Enrolled in a LPN program, which was 16 months, still in Lafayette area. But it was like I would have to pay for it, through grants and scholarships, whatever.
Mhm.
So the first day of class, they send someone in to talk to us about some kind of pilot program they were doing. It was going to be like a test LPN program. It was going to be very accelerated. They had got funds from the government because this was right around Hurricane Katrina time or whatever. So they had funds to start like an LPN program for evacuee so, people that came from
Mhm.
or whatever.
Yeah,
So I just happened to be sitting in the class and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like,
it's right up
"Excuse me."
my alley.
And I'm like, I just came from 4-year college, that was accelerated. I'm just going to try my luck. So the teacher of the 16-month program was like, telling us not to do it. We didn't know what it would produce, and most of us wasn't gonna make it, which was true.
Mhm.
I think she lost half of her class that day. We all went to 1-year program. The next week we started the 1-year program. So we get in class, it's like 80 students. 80 students. They sat there telling us how half of us wasn't gonna graduate and all this stuff. I'm still like, because I would be in it,
In the number.
maybe in 2 weeks, we all lost 30 people. So we were down to like 50. And then it slowly started trickling. We finished our year with 10 people.
Are you
We
serious?
had 10 graduates. I'm like,
So
why? Y'all could have accepted more people, number one. 'Cause
exactly, if you knew we were only going, because they do this, and for the students that are listening, they always set you up in orientation and say, "All of y'all not gonna make it."
yes, everybody had that speech.
Everybody literally has that speech, and personally, I think that like, hits people's confidence so they don't perform well because they
Yeah.
internalize that. I
But
was one of those people.
if you're like, you probably were one of them, like, they're not talking to me.
No, I was one of the people that I internalized it.
Oh, okay.
Like, I was in an accelerated BSN program,
Uh-huh.
and I did not make it the first round.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh, wow." They got me good until I found my, I got back in the program
Found
and
your
then found my rhythm, got my confidence, and I'm up outta there now, but I was definitely one of the ones sitting in orientation like, "Why is she telling us that ain't nobody gonna pay?"
It's true, but hindsight, it's like you're preparing them for the workforce.
Mhm.
Like you going, a lot of y'all not gonna make it on this job.
'Cause,
Uh,
woo, girl, nursing?
like y'all not
Okay.
gonna, because nursing can beat you down.
Mhm.
But yeah, graduated 10 people, and I was one of them. I was like the president of the class. I graduated at the top of the class, but
Mhm.
I was pregnant for twins at the time. Like the week I got in, I think it was the next week I found out I was pregnant. And then later on, I found out it was twins. So I went through LPN school, pregnant for the twins, had them. We had 1 week off for Christmas. And in the program, we could not miss more than 3 days, more than two clinical days, and more than 3 classroom days in the whole year. So I was like, how am I going to swing this?
Mhm.
Nothing but God. Like I had them December 29th. So it was like Christmas, New Year's break, and I had a C-section. Probably shouldn't be saying this, but anyway, because it's too far gone. So I had a C-section. You know, you are supposed to get like cleared to go back to work. Number one,
Mhm.
like you are supposed to be cleared, like cleared to go back. But my teachers or instructors were nurses, so I don't know how they let that swing. But I had to show back up to class probably like 3 days after my C-section, I believe.
Girl.
Yeah.
Dedication.
I went there and I walked in. I remember walking into class or to clinicals. It was a clinical day. And she said, "Oh, well, you need an excuse to come back." And I'm like, so I was like, "Oh, I have my excuse." So I go back to my car. I picked up my excuse and I looked at it. Girl,
How
why
long out?
why did they say it like like duty? Because when I remember her saying, "Yeah, you have to be able to fully return," I'm like, "Oh my god, she's not gonna take this thing like duty." You about to laugh. Why I took some white out and I white out the light duty part,
Girl, no, you didn't.
and I went back in there. I made a copy and I handed it to her. I'm like, "Yeah, they cleared me."
Oh my goodness, y'all don't do this.
Do not. When
Don't
I
do this, cause it could have been real dangerous.
Oh, it could have been. So I did that on paper so I could go back. But as far as the on patients, I had really good classmates. Two of them
Mhm.
I ended up knowing from my hometown, and sometimes we carpool. They never let me touch a patient, lift a patient, nothing. I literally was there doing paperwork, doing all the, brain work. No,
Mhm.
nothing. When I tell you, like I owe these girls, like not my life, but I do, they were a big part of me getting my LPN license because they knew my older sisters and they were like, "We are not letting you touch, any
Mhm.
patients," and then so I literally had more than my 6 weeks, like almost 2 months of like not touching patients. They were always with me at clinicals. Even one of the girls would even pick me up for clinicals.
Shout out to nurse friends.
Yes, when I took shout out to them, like shout out to them, like I wouldn't have made it. I mean, I'm sure my mom could have brought me, but for her
Mhm.
to get out of her bed early to come down we live in the country, girl. So come down this long road, pick me up to go to school and then come back and drop. Yeah, I owe her like a lot, a lot. So finished that program in a year. We had to. It was like a very like tumultuous program. I changed from different buildings like 4 times. Yeah, we graduated. Finished with my LPN. When I started working as an LPN, I was like, I don't think I want to be doing the same work as the RN, basically the same work, and getting
Mhm.
less. So I ended up, like I love school, I ended up going back to school to do my associate's degree program for nursing or whatever. Um, you probably don't say, girl, you got something in every part of your schooling that you did, but it was not like an easy road. I
Mhm.
literally enrolled in so I enrolled in an associate's degree program like an hour and a half away from my house. It's like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes away. Which means I had to wake up extra early for clinicals and all of that good stuff. But when I first enrolled, I was missing like I think a couple of prereqs. And they said something about you couldn't do enrollment, girl. why I enrolled in 2 colleges, took the
I
courses.
did the same thing.
Yeah, because they're like, "No, you can't do." I'm like, "Girl, well, how you gonna know? Let
Look,
me."
I drove an hour from
Yeah,
my primary school to my secondary school for one class. I had to get a prereq, and I
so
needed it, so I did.
why do they discourage that though? If you can do it.
I think it may be because they want you to be focused. So most BSN, RN, registered nurse classes, period, they want you to feel like that is the only life that you can have.
Right, basically like how a job wants you to feel.
Oh, yeah, only have one job, only give all your time and dedication to this. And I'm not saying that school ain't hard, but if you have to get your prerequisites and you feel like you need to go to another college to get them, and if you can get them cheaper, do it.
Right. But, so I ended up doing that, and girl, it was go time. I get into RN school.
Mhm.
So it was LPN to RN transition program. We only had to do 1 semester as the LPN to RN transition class, and I think a couple of things that I couldn't remember what it was. But then the next semester would have been like OBP, pharmacology, and something else I took together. And then the last semester would have been med surg 1 and med surg 2. Well, did the LPN to RN transition. In the fall, I did OBPs, pharmacology. Got to my spring semester, and it was med surg 1, med surg 2. So I'm like, okay, we doing it. Oh, I forgot to mention I had a baby.
Okay,
Between
so at this point, you have 4
I
children.
had 4 at this time, yeah, because I had
Okay, the twins, the
and then
oldest
I
one, and now 4.
I had that baby when I enrolled in the LPN to RN transition course. I was pregnant. I had that baby. When did I have that baby? Oh, I'm so sorry. No, no, no. Was I pregnant? Girl, I'm having like a brain for it. I knew I had her in
Look,
that.
that's the mom brain. It follows you.
So, let's just say I had her in that span. I can't remember. I just
It's
born
okay.
in February. She was born. So I get to the semester where it's med surg 1, med surg 2, and I'm like doing it. I'm doing med surg 1. Well, med surg 1 was like 3 months, I think, like January to March. And the med surg 2 was March to May. Well, I ended up failing med surg 1, which means, of course, I couldn't go to med surg. So that mean I had to sit out from March to August till, the next term or whatever.
Mhm.
I always tell people it seems like, there was a failure or a roadblock or it pushed me back. But I always tell people God has like, listen, he has his way of doing things. That was his way of telling me, "Sit down." You know,
'Cause you needed to be sat
I
down. Cause if
I
if he didn't do it, you wasn't gonna sit down.
I sit down. So that was his way of saying, "Sit down. You need to be there for the babies at home."
Mhm.
So at that time, I had a husband, or have still have the same husband. My husband was there at that time, so he did a lot of like staying home with the kids and the kids. But right around that time, that med surge, like from January to February, he was incarcerated.
Oh, wow.
That's the life that was life. And girl, when I would go to school to take my test, nothing was sticking. Like, I'm a smart girl, but I could not get I was studying and I'm like, "I know I just studied this." And, like,
Mhm.
I wanted it too bad, nothing was sticking. I felt like a failure, like, literally failed the class. It was only about 2 points, but when you fail by 2 points, you was
You
roughing
beat yourself up so bad.
you you were roughing it the whole time,
Mhm.
And I'm sitting next to these kids, like, so I'm an LP in the RN program, but I'm still sitting next to people who have never worked in a hospital. And at the time, I kind of knew, but then I was like, okay, whatever. So they would come to class the next day, sitting on the side. Oh, I made a 98 on the test and a 9. I'm like, a what? And you know,
Yes.
who I'm talking about,
Mhm, mhm.
you made a 98, and I'm sitting here with my 76.4 as a nurse. The math wasn't mathing. You
The
understand?
math wasn't mathing, and I think it's because and I have to be 100% honest here. In my nursing program, I found out later on that one of my teachers was giving them study guides, like, with the
Bingo.
test questions.
My
And
teacher was giving them
also I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said my teacher was giving them the test, the actual test.
Yes,
She
and
was
also
really
it was a book that they were pulling questions from that they recommended to certain students, but they didn't recommend them to us.
yes. So I'm a person that I have to study alone. I don't go to study groups. I don't really mingle, or wasn't that time mingling with the class. I was actually driving, an hour and 45 minutes away, so I only knew like two people in the class. Um, and I don't even think they had access to those things. But
Mhm,
apparently there was stuff that was, going around and stuff. But even knowing that information, I still did not want to, because I really wanted to know I wanted to have a foundation, and I wanted to know the stuff, like not just to pass the class. Like I wanted to be able to sit for my NCLEX and pass it with flying colors. Like, I mean, flying colors. Like I did for my LPN. I had
mhm.
like a amount of questions. I finished in 30 minutes. When I sat for my
Girl,
NCLEX, minimal amount of question, I passed it in 30 minutes. My
girl,
mom My mom was laughing because she brought me to both of the tests. Like we had a hotel room near the testing side, and we just kind of relaxed the day before. So she brings me to do my registered nurse test, and I come out in 30 minutes because she's sitting in the lobby area. I come out in 30 minutes, and she's like, "Oh," she had that like, "Girl, you failed." She was like, "Are you going to on a restroom break?" I said, "I'm going to a restroom." I said, "I'm finished." I think I'm right back. Girl, she's looking at me like, "Girl, you failed."
like, it's over with for us. You need to go ahead and reschedule because we doing this again.
That's exactly how her face was, and, she was like, "Okay, so you finished." She was like, "I hate to tell you, but you probably failed," or whatever. I was talking, I'm like, "I didn't fail." I was like, I the tests they give us in nursing school are, like, to me, like, 50 times harder than the test, the NCLEX. NCLEX, you get there, you know it. That's how I felt.
Mhm.
So all this stuff, like I said, I wanted to study. I knew they had tests floating around, test banks and tests floating around in nursing school. But I really wanted to know the information. And with me knowing the information, I felt I was prepared.
Yeah, it
Like,
made it click.
oh yeah, I was over prepared to take
So,
that test.
here's my question for you. Since you passed your NCLEX in 30 minutes, what were some study techniques that you used in order to prepare yourself for the NCLEX?
So we all know that everybody's studying is different. Like I said, I never
Mhm.
studied. I didn't have a lot of time to study. I would say, like, I would try to study it during my kids' soccer games, soccer practice, stuff like that. So my studying for the actual tests, like nursing tests, were maybe right before we took the test that morning. My 2.5 hour, my 2 hour drive there, and then I sit in the parking lot.
Girl, I'm
Uh,
done.
I'm telling for the NCLEX. So I feel like I have ADHD, like undiagnosed. So for the NCLEX, I never did test banks. I never answered one extra question that had to do with nursing. If it didn't require being answered in school, I never looked at any test banks. I was always a person that I always wanted to know the fundamentals. Like,
The why.
yes, I don't want to, like, the questions, you can give people questions all day, and then they sit there and they prepare. They change one word in the question.
And it's over with. I don't remember anymore.
Exactly. So that's what happens to I'm an instructor now, so that's how it happens to my kids, and I try to instill in them to look at the fundamentals. If you have time after that to go do question banks, by all means, go ahead and do it. But when I tell you I didn't look at one extra question, did not. I ended up so for our LPN, after we did our LPN class, I did the HERS review, and it went over everything. That HERS review is intended for RN students, but I took it as an LPN right before I took my LPN in class. I think that helped me a lot. So it was a 2 day review at that time. It may still be. Well, I did my RN in so short of a span. I was able to use whatever I paid for the Hers review at that time because I feel like they said it was like a 5 year. You can use it again in 5 years or return to another review. I ended up going to the RN review, which was the same exact review. I used the same book, and that's all I did. I did the Hers review, like probably the week after I finished school, and I never looked at anything else until I went to take my test. I ended up right
Okay.
where I took my test in February. I didn't look at anything, and I didn't go to work either. I didn't go to work as a RN, like a student RN. I just kept working as an LPN.
Okay. So
I
y'all
started to put any more stuff in my brain that makes sense. Where if I
Mhm.
did, I just didn't know it.
Yeah, so y'all, I think the message here today is know the why. If you know the why, if you're able to answer all the questions like so with my normal study guide that allowed me to be able to increase my ability to take tests was structured off of knowing the why and the how.
And
So if you know those, if you know your patho, like you don't have to know a lot of the patho, but it allows you to understand the body a little bit more. But knowing the disease process, understanding what your patient is going to look like when they present to you, understanding like, okay, those are your signs and symptoms, then going into, okay, so what am I going to do about that? That allows you to be able to critically think. So, what meds am I going to give? Okay, when they discharge, what do you need to let them know? Your education. A lot of the things that we typically like we read in the book, we're overly studying because we want to know the fluff as well, like the things that we don't really need to know. Understand your disease processes and that will allow you to do
yeah,
what Miss Nika did here, and that is what she did. Pass her test in 30 minutes.
yes, both NCLEX, LPN and RN. So
That is amazing to me because I was in there struggling,
no, I'm a person.
fighting for my life.
Do test school also. I'm doing circling the first as that comes to mind.
But that's what you need to do. And I
Yeah,
think that
so
when
check yourself.
yes, when you psych yourself out and you lack confidence in like your nursing abilities or your test taking abilities, normally the first answer is right, but you second guess yourself, third guess yourself
Right.
into the wrong answer.
That is true. That is true. And I feel like I said, all that extra stuff, it is nice to do test banks, but
Mhm.
honestly, right now, I feel like we have like test bank nurses. Like saying it, I'm saying if it don't go exactly like the scenario in the test bank, then they get nervous and all flustered on the job. And
Mhm.
like thinking to myself, you learn everything you need to do for that patient. For me, we have 4 terms at my LPN school. So first term is like fundamentals and like geriatrics. The second term, oh, and they do A&P also. And then they come to my term, and I'm teaching A&P pharmacology and med surg 1.
Mhm.
By the time they finish those 2 terms, my students should be able to go and sit for an NCLEX. No lie.
Mm.
You learn everything, but they still have 2 terms left, obviously. But I feel like you learn everything that you need to learn in nursing school because the way the NCLEX is set up is for a brand new nurse coming out of school, not a brand new nurse that's working on the floor.
Yes.
Um, To me, all that fluff is just fluff. Some people can do it. That's a study technique for some people. I just couldn't. I get real, real nervous. I don't want any extra stuff. Obviously, I didn't have any extra time because I had all.
Mhm.
Um, but I just like to give me that information. I'm the type of student I would write an essay, and the teacher would mark it as a C and hand it back and say, "Hey, if you correct all this stuff, you can get an A like this." And I hand it back to him like, "Nope, that was all I had to give."
Ooh.
Because I knew that, like, I just get so, like, nervous with extra stuff.
Mhm. Oh my goodness. You know what? I have never heard anybody be like that before. I was just a student. Like they tell me that something is wrong, I'm gonna go above and beyond to correct it. But I
Girl,
can understand that like you really just simply didn't have the time to mess around.
Yeah, and I had to, like, put my energy towards what I had to put my energy to.
Yes.
Mind you, if it's someone else, if it was a younger me, like, if I would have buckled down in college when I first went, no kids and all of that good stuff, then I had a lot of time, but obviously, at that time, I wasn't using my time for that because I don't know what I was doing, having babies.
I'm done.
I was experiencing life.
Yes, as all of us should. I'm not saying have all your babies, but
Right, right.
you should experience life.
That can slow some people down. It's just I'm the type of person that gave me my push. Love my
Mhm.
baby. Obviously, I have 5 kids. Actually, my baby was when my baby turned 14, I had another one last year. So love my
Well,
baby.
congratulations.
Thank you. They give me
Mhm.
a push to do like important things in life. Before I had my kids, maybe I was partying, I was still going to school because I'm a smart girl. Like I said, I can do both. But no, they gave me the push to like get into a career, or get into a major that would actually turn into a career that could make me some money and get us a life that we really want, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, so we're gonna pivot from the first years of you going into nursing school into now you're a nurse, but what made you create Crush Meds?
So this is like, okay, I'm like a serial business person.
Mhm, I see.
I if there's money to be made and I see like, a market, I'm going to create a business.
Mhm,
So my business is Crush and Company. Like that's the business. So I made all kind of little sub things. So like
mhm,
Crush Meds came to me one day because I have a boutique called Crush and Company,
mhm,
but was still like geared like I sell jewelry, clothes, general stuff, but I still wanted to do like little medical things. So I had like medical jewelry and compression socks, things like that. So I started calling like the sub category, like a category on my website of Crush and Code Crush Meds. So like nurses can go to that section and find things that they want. Well, I ended up taking that Crush Meds part from the and just turning it into I'm like, I want to give educational stuff to people. Like I want to have a now mind you on my page that I have my NikaxNoel page. I do a lot of nursing stuff, but
mhm.
I do a lot of lifestyle stuff too. I wanted them to have somewhere where they can just go just for the nursing stuff and like give tips and maybe put like YouTube clips, but just nursing, no lifestyle. Because I had a lot going on. I have I do travel blogging. I do a lot of lifestyle stuff. I try to help people like grow their social media. And I don't know, like I just love social media. I love social media. Like it's a passion. It's a passion. Anything I can do to like I like that you can share with a lot of people. So anything I
Mhm.
can do like share to different groups. I just figured Crush Mans would have been like, a sub. We can share to the nurses, just the nurses, and you'll where to go and look for stuff. But if you want more, then you can go to my other page.
Yes,
But it was
I
like
love that.
like Crush Meds, with the patients. And I'm like, oh, that rings bells.
Yes, I was like, "Hold on." When you just said that, you was like, "I had a boutique first," and I'm like, that was a perfect pivot into
Yeah.
medicine into
Yeah.
medicine. But I love that you have so many because I also am a serial entrepreneur, and it
I
to
girl.
me, it is so hard balancing that with my baby now. So how do you balance it all?
So, like I said, like being a mom for me, that's like my first love, my ultimate love. It's going to be
Mhm.
my, even when my kids get older, in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe I could adopt some kids. But then I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to do that to them kids because they don't have an old, adopt. Like, I'm not going to do it to them kids. But like when my kids get older, I'm thinking, like, oh my God, I have 9 sisters and I have two. I'm thinking, like, well, who can have some more kids so they can come to Aunt Nika's house. Like, I just love,
You are
love
already planning for your siblings to have their kids,
and
like
they have some already, and I'm running out of siblings, like, they're getting older like me, so I'm like, "Lord, where am I gonna get the kids from?" So
goodness gracious, Nika.
Wait, but, love kids, like, I love extra kids at the house. Of course, I had to pick up after everybody. I don't even like to pick up after my own kids, but
Mhm,
kids bring a certain kind of outlook on life, like a different outlook on life. Like I said, before I had kids, partying was priority. How I look was priority. I still care about how I look, but it's to a certain degree. I'm not gonna be
mhm.
myself. You don't have to take me as I am. So when I say I care about how I look, as long as I'm well kept, I can't change my look. But before I was like worrying about my shape,
Mm.
everything. You are when you're young. Kids, baby, they will do it to you. They will do it to you. But they bring a certain kind of aspect of how you look at life and
Oh,
what's in um and so I always look to my kids like to keep me grounded. But then when they leave, I'm like, well, where am I gonna get some kids? I said I'm making 40, but I don't feel like I'm 40. I
mhm.
literally feel like I'm in my 20s. I'm reliving the 20s, but the good 20s, like with money this time.
Look, look, a good feeling like you 20 with money, that
I know, but
that does a lot for you.
I know, but I don't know, like, I just like I'm a very energetic person already.
Mhm,
Now, when I'm down, I'm down. When I'm tired, I'm tired. When I have the don't wants, I have the don't wants, and that's all around in life. Like, if I don't want to go to work, I'm not going to work. Luckily, I found a job that I want to go to this job every day.
mhm.
Instructor, bedside nursing, I don't want to go there every day, and I don't. And like bedside nursing, I've always kept it as a PRN job. I did it full time before, but I still treated it like a PRN because I'm not going. I mean, if I don't want to go, I'm just not gonna go. And it does that to you. But
Yeah.
I
So
have. I'm very energetic.
so let's talk about what your experience was on bedside since it led to you not wanting to do it anymore. What did that experience feel like?
So I don't want people to think that I completely live bedside because I still do it. I did like a contract for a couple of years,
Mhm,
and now I pivoted to just going in. I only have to do like 2 shifts, I believe. I think 2 shifts, a pay period, and whatnot. But listen, they always say it, but nursing is like a dog eat dog kind of world of its own.
mhm.
Um, and instead of, you do have some people, it's like 50-50. Some people do extend hands, help, but for them, like, not, it's a lot of competition. It's a lot of
Yeah.
competition. It is a lot of people trying to prove that they know stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, girl, I've been a nurse for 17 years. If I come across something that I don't know, I'm not about to sit here and tell you that I know. I'm like, oh, I don't know how to do this. Go on and show me. Or let's look at this and we'll
Lippin
figure.
cod. Let's look
Yeah,
at Lippin cod. Let's get the education. And you're completely right. People who don't know something need to be okay with not knowing it and
yeah.
okay with learning.
No, but there's a lot, and I know you run into that type.
Mhm,
Don't know it, and then they try to project it, like, or I don't know, like they just can't admit that they don't know a certain thing, which is okay, even if it's something you learned in nursing school. We do not remember everything. You have to crack open some book at some
mhm,
point. But like you said, just oh Lord, if people would, you know, learn to that you're not gonna know every single thing, and that if you could, you really only need to know like a resource to get what you need to know. It would make nursing a whole lot better.
mhm. So
Right?
would you
Those
say your dropping down to PRN from bedside was because of the negative experiences with people as opposed to the experiences on the floor?
so not really. So it didn't have anything to do with, well, it had a little to do with, but the majority of
Mhm.
it comes from nursing. Bedside nursing is very, very taxing on your body. This is not
Girl. Mhm.
a feel. It's good to go and make money, but your back will hurt. Your body will start to fall apart. And I don't feel 40 in my head, but baby, my back
The
be,
back. That back
yeah,
is 40.
yeah, my back is like
That
50.
I was just about to say the back might be a strong 52.
So like that is really what's running me away from not wanting to do it 3 days a week. Sometimes I do go in 3 days a week, but only if I want to, if I'm feeling good that week. You don't
Mhm.
wanna have to make that your, like, you have to go and do it. You have to have something on the side, which you know, because like you said, you're like a serial business person too.
Mhm.
We gonna get this money somewhere.
And we
Uh,
gonna find we gonna find the avenue.
yes, and our drive is we make so I'm not saying we're rich, but we make a good amount of money doing nursing, so everything we chase after, we try to find something comparable to that money.
Mhm.
All the little things make it at least comparable to that money. So, it's the body. It's not bodying anymore.
And I do have to say this because I remember when I was in clinical and one of the nurses, the older nurses, she said, you know, you have to save your back because once you lose your back, it's over for you. Like, if you are like just strictly a bedside nurse and this is the only thing that you want to do, you have to be careful of how you move your patients. You have to be careful of, like, even the small things like charting. You have to do things that are ergonomically friendly. Like, sitting in that straight back chair is not gonna work for you.
Alright, you have to you see, stuff like that, I think me early on doing a little things like I'm a big girl. I do still I love to exercise. I like to do things. I always when I wanted to help the CNAs or the nurses. They're like, "Oh, I can move on myself." I'm like, "You can, but you shouldn't."
Mhm.
Very, very safe. You can't, like you said, sitting in that straight back chair. You can't sit down the entire shift. I've always had either a watch or some sort of alarm that would make me get up. If nurses have every 2 hours where we check on the patients, I get up every hour and go check all the rooms. Something to keep me moving. I've always worked the night shift. I wear my compression stockings. Always have worn them since I was like since before I had kids. So you
Mhm.
have to start doing little things, taking care of your body. Partying is nice, but your body needs rest. So,
Girl.
your body, like you said, when that back is going, don't worry about the hospital trying to hire you for anything.
Yeah, and you have to be able to say no. Like,
You know?
when I was, manager at a long-term care facility, they had, like, a policy of always do it 2.
Yeah,
And so if they caught you, which they didn't hold up this, they should have.
I know
If they
about it.
caught you doing it with 1, like, you would get written up.
Hmm.
So that's important. You need to use all the things that they have, use the whatever you can to move that patient, use
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
because
Because we
I'm
can
not about to be picking up no patient.
right. And some of them expect it, girl. I'm walking in the room, little tiny little man, tiny little lady. Like, oh, could you help me slide up before you leave? And I'm thinking like, well, let me go get someone. Like, well, I think you could pick me up. And I'm thinking like, why? Because
Why do you think I
the
can pick
big
you up?
black girl? No, I'm gonna walk to the door. You can help, and we're gonna slide you up. And I'm gonna do you another thing. You're gonna help me too, because we're gonna put that bed back
In
all the way.
Trendelenburg.
Yes, and you're gonna grab onto those rails, and you're gonna work and move yourself up too. But yeah, you do all of the things.
Girl, yeah, look, y'all save your back. For all
Yeah,
the students that's listening, all the nurses that's listening, the veteran nurse that already blew her back out. You shoulda saved your back,
you're
but
right,
you didn't.
right.
But that means that there are always other areas in nursing that you can go to. Bedside isn't the only thing.
Yes,
So if you feel like because you're going to work with your back brace on and it's hurting all the time, it's okay to pivot into another area.
yes, yes. And you can make other areas for yourself. You
Mhm.
can, you've done it yourself. Like nursing is it's so rewarding. So diverse, it's so flexible. You can do whatever you want to do. I can incorporate nursing into whatever business I want to
Mhm.
do. And
Yeah.
you just have to have that drive. You don't even really need creativity much these days because you can look online and see what somebody else is doing.
Girl, yes. You can use AI. You
Yeah.
can, recreate videos. You can
Mhm.
do so many different things. So, yes, if you are going through the struggle of losing your back, Definitely look into other ways to make money as a nurse, or even you can pivot out of nursing into something else.
Yes,
Just make sure that you are dedicating time to yourself. You're giving back to yourself because the hospital will take from you as long as you allow it to.
that's correct. That is correct. Nursing will take, take, take.
Mhm. Yes. As long as we giving it, they gonna take it.
Yeah. You are very, disposable to any job,
Mhm.
except
And
for,
they
I mean, your own business is what I want to say.
yes, and they can also be disposable to you. So you always remember your worth. And if you decide one day you like, yeah, it's time for me to leave, leave. I understand that you have best friends at the job. I get it. You like who you work with. But, just keep in contact with them, stay friends outside of the job. If the job is not serving you anymore, it's time to go.
Yeah, that's actually one of my chapters in my book. Like, so I always touch on it. I always tell people to treat the hospital like a business because they treat
Mhm.
it, and it is a business, but you treat the hospital like a business, treat your work schedule like a business, all of that. The only thing you're not treating as a business is your patient.
Yes,
Hospital business, patient as a person.
I love that. So let's
Yes.
talk about your book.
Mhm.
So you have a book called Everything They Don't Tell You About Nursing School, right?
Yes, yes. I touch on topics like time management because I don't know about you, love it, but like before I actually became a nurse, I always was like intrigued, like, well, what do they do when they get on shift and how
Mhm.
do they go? And now you can watch a whole bunch of blogs and see, but at that, when I was going, it was nothing like that. So I kind of have time management. I touch on details of how a shift would go from start to finish. I go through stuff like that, treating the hospital as a business, the patient as a person. I go through different certifications you can get without going back to school. So elevating your nursing license without having to go back to college and making money from that too. Also touch on different avenues of nursing, different I'll take a risk. Different things you can do, like running a business, being a nurse influencer, different things you can add on to make money. What else? Oh, I also, so since I do a lot of nurse influencer things, I touch on, well, not touch on, but I give like contacts of different brands that I work with, and like I'm an ambassador for Fig, so I have like a
Mhm.
Fig application that you can access, things like that, in emails. Because a lot of people are like, "Oh, I want to get into nurse influencing, but I don't know where to start or how do y'all get contacts and this and that." Well, I have a whole bunch of contacts. I can't remember what else is in the book. That is crazy. Actually,
Well, that means that y'all have to go get the book.
listen, it's a very expensive book. And I think the reason, so I created the book not because I wanted to make money off of the book. I created the book because so many people ask me like the same question. And like I get inboxes about the same questions. And I'm like, listen, I'm going to compile all of stuff that I made TikToks about, reels about that went viral. I'm like, I'm going to compile everything together and I have it all in one place where we can, you know, everybody can just access that. The first chapter, oh, I have the book now. So, anyways, the first chapter I do is never be afraid to ask questions. And I go through things about is stuff about what we talked about earlier
Mhm.
about, people don't want to admit that they don't know anything. They'll just put a patient at home instead of
Yes.
asking a question. We do time management. We do embracing lifelong learning, CEUs. What else? Covering your rear end. You know what we say, cover your
Yeah. Cover
you
your ass.
stop and tips. How long you should work before you begin travel nursing, getting to the money, not the emotion, the side hustles, and then a little bit of extras. So that's what the book entails.
Okay, I love that, and I love that you have your book.
Mhm.
Y'all, if you are in nursing school, go ahead and grab it, and then for the nurses who, want to navigate getting into different areas, definitely go and get the book.
Yeah, you can do anything. You can write a book, you can do anything.
Yes. So we are coming to the end of this episode, right?
I don't know, I don't want it to end. I feel
It
like
does not feel like we've been on here for almost an hour.
Like I found another friend. I don't
Yes, girl. And at some point, I probably will, like, start, bringing guests back on for different topics. So, whenever I see that you're doing something different, I can bring you back on the podcast and we can talk about it.
okay, okay. I'm
But
always if you have a dead week, I'll come back and talk. I have a lot to say.
yes, and you know what? A lot needs to be heard.
Yeah.
So, since we're ending this episode, can you give new nurses coming into nursing one tip of advice?
My biggest tip is to never fold.
Oh,
Never will disrespect you and never fold. That's gonna take you a long way. Because people will try you. Don't let them try you. Well, they will try you, but don't fold. Go with what you know. Stand your ground. Don't let them cross your boundaries with you. Like your boundaries or your boundaries. And you know what you know.
yes. Oh my goodness, that was a word. Y'all, don't fold. Cause look, people will, and you will find when you go into nursing that people will try to take you out of character. You have
Yes.
to know how to navigate those situations by being both professional but being stern.
I think I have that in the book too.
Yeah, girl.
They'll test you as I'm gonna say as a black nurse. So you're
Mhm.
young as a young person, and they will test you as a black person,
Mhm.
trying to be incompetent. And the narrative, angry black woman, never let them take you out of your character. And when you start feeling like you have to get out of your character, ever time to go to another job.
Yes, when you feel like that, and also when you're dragging to go to work.
Yes,
When
yes,
you don't wanna move your feet, when you gotta roll off the bed, hit the floor, slap yourself a few times to just go into work, and then everything is exhausting once you get there, it is dead. We're not telling you to quit your job, right? Because that's not what we do here.
no, no,
But
no, no.
if you feel as if your job is not serving you, definitely look into something new, and then I don't recommend leaving your job without having a backup plan,
Right.
but, sometimes you gotta get out of there.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to get out of there, and sometimes when you walk out of that job, you have opportunity waiting. So
Mhm.
nursing jobs come down with us. Um, you're gonna find a job. You're gonna be all right. Don't be afraid to close one door.
Yes. So, since you have made it to the end of this episode, I would like to thank you for coming to the Evolved Nurse. Also, if you have any questions, just email us at theevolvednurse@gmail.com. Also, follow us at The Evolved Nurse on Instagram, TikTok. I also have a Facebook community called Nurses Evolving. So, you all, thank you so much for listening. Let's thank Nika for joining us because she didn't have to come on here, but she did.